Hello everyone, welcome to the economics class with me Virat Chetri, and we have been discussing about government budget in our previous classes. So we will be continuing with its last portion today. Actually the chapter has already been completed, or the unit has already been completed, but today we are going to deal with some of the questions which keep on coming in the board exam, some of the important questions which keeps on coming in your board exams. So we will be dealing with such type of questions, that is important board questions. Okay, before discussing about this important board questions, I would like to recall few of the things that we have read, that we have learned in this chapter. Okay, first of all, we have learned about the meaning and objectives of government budget. Okay, so from this portion, meaning of government budget or the definition of government budget might come of 1 marks, and the rest, that is objectives of budget, from the objectives of budget you may get 3 marks or 4 marks question in your board exam. Okay, since this chapter comprises of 6 marks, so you may get 4 marks question from 4 or 3 marks question from that section of objectives of government budget. After that, we have discussed about components of budget. From the portion of components of budget, basically all the difference between revenue receipts and capital receipts, or differences between revenue budget, capital budget, differences between revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. All this kind of question may come of 3 or 4 marks, direct, indirect taxes. Okay, and apart from that, there are certain questions which deals with the identification of whether a particular expenditure is a capital expenditure or revenue expenditure, or whether a particular receipt is a revenue receipt or capital receipt. So we need to deal with those type of questions also. So I am going to deal with that type of questions today. We have discussed about it earlier also, so it will be just a revision of that. Okay. Apart from that, the last portion which we discussed in yesterday's class was that of budgetary deficit. So budgetary deficit is the third portion of this chapter, and from budgetary deficit also you may get either 1 marks question like definition of fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, budgetary deficit and primary deficit, or you may get calculations of 3 or 4 marks, or you may get implications of those deficit of 3 marks or 4 marks. So from all these sections, there is a high probability that you may get 1 marks question, or you may be getting 3 or 4 marks question. So today we are not going to deal with the objectives of budget, because we have already discussed about it in detail, and whatever we have discussed, that much is enough. You need to know the heading on the subtopic of the objectives of budget. There are 6 objectives of budget. You need to understand that and learn those 6 objectives, and out of that 6 objectives you often get the question alternatively. Okay, so if you prepare that, then you will be able to answer it. Apart from that, I am dealing with few of the conceptual questions or the logical questions which keeps on coming in board exams. So without much delay, let us start with today's class. So first of all, we may find this type of question in exam. Okay, we may find this type of question in our examination, and here you clearly see that giving reasons categorize the following into direct tax and indirect tax. So what you are to do is giving reasons. Okay, you have to identify whether the statement given is related to direct tax or indirect tax, and along with the reasons. If you are not able to give the reasons properly, then you will not be getting any marks for it. So you may get 3 marks or 4 marks question from this portion. So let us see what type of question comes. There are 4 questions in this, 4 sub questions. Corporation tax, whether it is direct tax or indirect tax, with reason you have to support your statement or your identification with reasons. Then you have excise duty. For this also you have to support this with the help of proper reasons. And then capital gains tax and wealth tax. Okay. let's see corporation tax, whether it is direct tax or indirect tax. Corporation tax is a direct tax because here the impact and incidence, okay, the impact and incidence of tax is on the same person. There are two ways to identify whether a particular form of tax is a direct tax or indirect tax. First is whether the impact and incidence is on the same person or not, and second one is that whether the tax is levied on the income of the individual or on the expenditure of the individual. If it is on the expenditure, then it becomes indirect tax, and if it is on the income of the individual or companies, then it becomes the part of direct tax. So here corporation tax, if we classify it, if we identify it with the help of both the regions also, then also we come to the conclusion that it is a direct tax, because here the impact and incidence of tax is on the same person. The shifting of tax is not possible here. We have already discussed about what impact is and what incidence of tax is. Impact of tax is the burden of tax on the person who initially pays the tax directly to the government, and incidence of tax is the burden of the tax on that person who is ultimately bearing the burden of the tax. Okay, so what happens in case of corporation tax is levied on the companies, okay, or on the companies or industries. So what happens here is that a particular company which is giving the corporation tax cannot shift that burden to the wholesalers or the retailers. Okay, so that's the reason why the impact and incidence of tax is on the same person. Now, second, excise duty. Excise duty is levied on the expenditure. Whenever we purchase something from abroad, then the excise duty is imposed on that. So excise duty is obviously or tax on expenditure. So based on that also we can identify it as indirect tax, or on the basis of impact and incidence of tax also we can identify whether that tax is a direct tax or indirect tax. Now here excise duty, though a person who has initially imported the product, okay, may pay the tax directly to the government, but he can easily shift the burden of that tax to the consumer, okay, through different supply chains. That burden of tax can be transferred or shifted to the consumer ultimately. That is the reason why the impact and incidence of tax is on a different person. Okay, so here it is indirect tax because the impact and incidence of tax is on the different person. Okay, so the basic criteria here is to identify the taxes on the basis of impact and incidence of taxes. Okay, if the impact and incidence is on the same person, then it is direct tax, and if the impact and incidence is on different person, then it is indirect tax. So here excise duty is indirect tax because the impact and incidence are on the different persons. Okay. Capital gains tax. Capital gains tax is imposed on such income which we earn through the sales or mutual funds or any other bonds, etc. Okay, when we are gaining through our investment in sales or through our investment in bonds or through our investment in fixed deposit, then it is termed as capital gains. Okay, and tax imposed on that capital gains is known as capital gains tax. Since this interest amount, or since this profit that which a particular investor is earning, okay, the return which a particular investor is making, okay, obviously adds up to the income of the particular individual, isn't it? So as a result of that, we can easily classify it, or we can easily categorize it as a direct tax. So here also, if the other reason is the impact and incidence, on the basis of this, the impact and incidence of tax is on the same person here. So capital gains tax cannot be shifted from for example, if a person is investing in shares and he got a huge return on the investment on shares, okay, then the tax imposed on that gain from investing in shares cannot be shifted to his neighbor or cannot be shifted to his friend. So the impact and incidence of tax is on the same person. That is the reason why it is known as direct tax. Okay. Wealth tax. Wealth tax is also direct tax, because here also the impact and incidence of tax is on the same person. Okay. So we have learned over here that there is one particular reason on the basis of which we can categorize whether a particular tax is direct tax or indirect tax, and that is on the basis of impact and incidence of tax. Okay, when impact and incidence of tax is on the same person, it becomes direct tax, and when impact and incidence of tax is on different person, then it becomes the indirect tax. Okay, so hope you have understood till here. Okay, this type of question may come in your board exams. Okay, I have given 4 examples. You may get some other forms of taxes also. There are so many taxes like GST, VAT, isn't it? Sales tax. There are so many taxes. Property tax. So you have to categorize that taxes. First of all, you think whether that is being imposed or levied, whether that tax is being levied on income or expenditure. Okay, if it is levied on income of the individual, then it becomes direct tax, and if it is imposed on the expenditure, it becomes indirect tax. One way of categorizing direct indirect tax is based on income and expenditure. Another way is this, in which we have to find out whether the impact and incidence of tax is on the same person or is on the different person. You have to find it out. If it is on different person, it automatically becomes indirect tax. If it is on same person, it becomes direct tax. Okay. Next type of question which you find is categorization of this. We have done earlier also in case of this. We have done earlier also in case of in case of components of budget also. When we discussed about components of budget, we discussed about budgetary receipts and budgetary expenditure separately. So in that portion also we have discussed about whether a particular receipt falls under capital receipts or revenue receipts, and whether a particular expenditure falls under revenue expenditure or capital expenditure. Okay, and we have developed a formula also, if you can remember, a simple logic of remembering whether it is falling under capital receipt or capital expenditure. Let me remind you that formula, that is clear for capital receipts. Clear means create liability, E has no meaning, AR, asset reduction. Okay, and for expenditure, that is capital expenditure, we will use the formula relax. Instead of relax, we will use relax, RELAC, where RE represents reduction, L represents liabilities, so reduction of liabilities or reduced liabilities, and A represents asset, C represents creation, so asset is being created. Okay, so here we have to identify whether a particular expenditure is a capital expenditure or revenue expenditure, and whether a particular receipt is capital receipt or revenue receipt. So I have taken a question where everything is given together. So here you have to first find out whether it is a receipt or expenditure, and after finding out whether it is receipt or expenditure, the next step is to find out whether it is capital or revenue. Okay, so let us take the questions. First question is financial help from Microsoft for the victims of flood affected areas. Now, as the term suggests, financial help. So help means if it is not to be repaid. So it is not to be repaid. So it is just a donation. Okay? It is an aid. So it is from Microsoft company. Okay? Microsoft company gave financial help for the victims of flood affected areas. Okay, so this aid which is coming from Microsoft, or this earnings which is coming from Microsoft, this money which is coming from Microsoft, is not going to affect assets and liabilities of the government of that particular country in which there are victims of flood. Okay, so what happens here is, since this is a financial aid, since this is a help, it does not have to be repaid. Since it is a donation, so it does not have to be repaid. And first of all, you think that financial help from Microsoft is coming to the government. Money coming to the government is termed as receipts. So it is a receipt, and then since it is not affecting asset and liability, it is obviously a revenue receipt. Okay, so it is revenue receipts. It is revenue receipts. Why it is revenue receipts? Because it is neither creating liability nor reducing assets of the government. Okay, hope you have understood it. If there is no impact on asset and liability of the government, then it automatically becomes the part of revenue budget. And since money is coming to the government, it is termed as revenue receipts. Okay, is it clear? Now here, what is happening is, it is neither creating liability nor reducing assets. If you remember that formula again, clear, because we are dealing with the receipts. So if you remember that formula clear, that is creating liabilities, asset reduction. Okay, then here neither the liability is being created nor the asset is being reduced. Okay, so you have to remember that based on the receipts. Second question, sale of 20% sales of Air India. Now this Air India is a public sector undertakings, okay, which is under the central government or which is under the union government. Okay, so here what happens is, government has sold 20% sale of that particular public sector enterprises. Okay, so what happens here is, obviously when you sell something, you are going to get money. So government will get money, that means it is receipt obviously. But what is happening here, since Air India is an asset, since it is a public sector undertaking, it is an asset for the government. Now since government has sold off 20% sale of that particular company, okay, then it means that the asset of the government is reduced. Okay, now go back to that particular formula. Okay, how will we categorize capital receipts? It is very simple, clear receipts. Capital receipts, you will just remember the word clear. In clear, what happens? Either the liability has to be created or the asset has to be reduced. In this case, asset is being reduced. So what happens? This is a part of capital receipts. And since money is coming to the government, so it is receipt. And since it is reducing assets of the government, it is a capital receipts. I hope you have understood this. Now let us take another question. Here it is expenditure on collection of taxes. This is a very famous question which keep on coming in board exams. Okay, here obviously expenditure is written here, so we don't have to think about whether it is a part of revenue, whether it is a part of receipts or whether it is a part of expenditure. Since expenditure is already written here, it is obviously an expenditure. Okay, now we need to find out whether this is revenue expenditure or capital expenditure. Now think of it, expenditure on collection of taxes. Whatever expenditure government pays in collecting taxes, like government maintains a portal, income tax portal, through which we can pay taxes. Nowadays you know about GST also. For GST payment also, there is portal being maintained by the government. So whenever you are maintaining a portal, obviously you have to make payment of salaries to those persons who are working over there, those who are designing the websites, those who are updating the websites. You need to pay that. isn't it? And for creating a website also you need to pay for that domain, isn't it? So all these expenditures are expenditures on collection of taxes. So what happens here is, since it is an expenditure, obviously it can be either capital expenditure or revenue expenditure. Now since it is expenditure on collection of taxes, and collection of taxes is neither going to create any asset nor going to create neither going to create any asset nor going to reduce any liability over here. So what happens here is that it is a part of revenue expenditure, since it is neither, again remember that formula, that is RELAC for capital expenditure. RELAC means reduce liability, asset creation. So here what is happening is, it is neither creating asset, so asset is not being created nor reducing liability. So liability is also not reduced and asset is also not being created. So as a result, what happens here is that it is a part of revenue expenditure. Okay, let us take another question. Recovery of loans. Read this term properly. Recovery of loans. So recovery means whatever loan the central government has given either to the state governments or to the union territories, it is now being repaid by the state governments to the central governments. Obviously, central government is receiving money, so it is a part of receipt, budgetary receipt. Now, whether it will be revenue receipt or capital receipt, we have to decide that. Since loan, whenever a government gives loan to the state government, that loan amount, that is the principal amount, becomes an asset for the government. So when that loan is being recovered, obviously the asset is being reduced of the government. Okay, because for it to be a capital receipt, okay, what is the logic behind capital receipt? The logic behind capital receipt is that simple word clear, create liability or asset reduction. It has to be either liability creation or asset reduction. In this case, what is happening? Recovery of loans means the asset of the government is being reduced. So obviously the second logic, that is asset reduction, will apply here. So it is a capital receipts. It is a capital receipts and it is reducing assets of the government. That is the reason why it is a capital receipts. Okay. Now we will move on to the next question. Repayment of loans. These two are very similar. You may get confused with the term recovery and repayment. So let be very clear about it. Repayment of loans means the central government had taken some loans and now the central government is repaying it back. The principal amount is being repaid by the central government. Okay, so what happens here is, since the government is making payment, obviously it is a part of expenditure. Now you have to decide whether it is revenue expenditure or capital expenditure. Now since loan itself is a burden to the central government, so loan was a liability, and when loan is being repaid by the central government, obviously the liability is being reduced. Now if you go by the definition of capital capital expenditure, then you will find the term RELAC. RELAC means reduce liability and asset creation. So here asset is not being created, but obviously the liability is being reduced. That is the reason why capital expenditure, that is the reason why it is a capital expenditure, okay, and it is reducing the liabilities of the government. It is reducing the liabilities of the government. That is the reason why it is a capital expenditure. Since repayment of loans means money is going away from the hand of the government, so it is obviously expenditure. And why it is capital expenditure? There are two conditions for the expenditure to be. There are two conditions based on which we can identify whether a particular expenditure is capital expenditure or not, and that is reduction of liability and asset creation, RELAC. Okay, and reduction of liability is applicable here because asset is not being created, but liability obviously is being reduced. So as a result, it is an example of capital expenditure. Okay, hope you have understood this type, how to solve this type of questions, isn't it? Now, the question which we have dealt with just now, that type of question do come in your board exams. You may get either 1 marks question, or you may get more than 1 marks question from that portion, or you may get 4 marks or 3 marks question, or even 6 marks question from that portion which we have dealt just now. Okay. Now over here we will deal with some of the calculations. Okay. Now these calculations are based on the budgetary deficit, whether it be fiscal deficit, primary deficit or revenue deficit. So we need to recall all those formulae of revenue deficit, fiscal deficit and primary deficit. We need to remember those formulas. Okay. Now here the question is given that you have to find A, revenue deficit, B, fiscal deficit and C, primary deficit. Okay, from this given data. Okay, here as you can see, revenue expenditure is given as 550, revenue receipts is given as 425, capital expenditure is given as 300, capital receipts is given as 265, interest payments 44, borrowings 55. Now let's see what is the first question, that is revenue deficit. To find the revenue deficit. Okay, so let's see. We know that revenue deficit. What is the formula of revenue deficit? Revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. Okay, so what is the revenue expenditure over here? 550. And what is the revenue receipts over here? It is 425, isn't it? So let's see. It will be, revenue deficit will be rupees 550 minus 425. Okay, and since the data is given in terms of rupees in crores, so we will write rupees in crores over here. Okay, now here what happens is rupees 125 crores. When we deduct 425 from 550, we get 125 crores. So our first portion is solved. Second, fiscal deficit. We know from our previous classes that fiscal deficit is also known as borrowings. Okay, so here fiscal borrowings is given as 55 crores in the question. So obviously the value of fiscal deficit, that is borrowings, will be 55 crores. Okay, now let us move on to the last question, that is primary deficit. Now what is the formula for primary deficit? The formula for primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payments. Okay, since fiscal deficit is 55, okay, and interest payments is 44, so when we deduct 44 from 55, okay, when we deduct 44 from 55, we will get the value of primary deficit, that is 11 crores. Okay, hope you have understood this. You have to break the questions as accordingly. For this, in order to solve this, you need to remember the formula. Okay, if you won't remember the formula, you will not be able to solve this type of questions. Let us take another example. Okay, here in this question you are asked, okay, in this question you are asked to, as per the government budget, the interest payments are estimated as 10,000 crores, which is 40% of primary deficit. Calculate fiscal deficit. So you are asked to find fiscal deficit, and some details are given over here. So let us see how to solve that. Okay, what are the details that have been given in the question? Okay, the details which have been given in the question is that interest payments is equal to rupees 10,000 crores. This detail is given. And what is the next detail that is given in the question? That it is interest payments equals to 40% of primary deficit. It is given over here, 40% of primary deficit, isn't it? So what happens here is, let's say primary deficit is denoted by PD. Okay, let's say primary deficit is denoted by PD, or primary deficit itself. So from this data, what do we get? Since it is given that interest payment is equal to 40% of primary deficit, so we can write it like this, because interest payment is rupees 10,000 crores from here. It is given, and 40% of primary deficit means 0.4 into primary deficit. Okay. Now, if we solve this, we will get the value of primary deficit. That is, the value of primary deficit will be 25,000 crores. How do we solve this? We see that there will be cross multiplication here. Okay, this 0.4 will go into the denominator, and in order to remove this point, we will multiply the numerator by 10, and when we solve this, 4 into 2500 is 10,000, so 2500 into 10 is 25,000 crores. So this is our primary deficit. Okay, now we are asked to find fiscal deficit in the question, isn't it? So how will we find the fiscal deficit? We know the formula of fiscal deficit. Okay, from the formula of primary deficit, we know that primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payments. If you have attended the previous classes, okay, just yesterday's class, then you will know how the different formula of fiscal deficit or the formula of primary deficit. So the formula of primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payment. So when we arrange it, we will get that fiscal deficit is given by primary deficit plus interest payments. Okay, we know both the values now. Primary deficit is 25,000 crores and interest payment is already given in question, 10,000 crores. So the final answer of fiscal deficit is this, 35,000 crores. I hope you have understood this. So you have to first understand the question properly. Don't get panicked by seeing percentages over here in the question. Just try to arrange it in terms of equation like this, which we have done over here. Try to arrange like this. Here you see from the information itself, you have found that the interest payments are estimated at 10,000 crores, which is 40% of primary deficit. So interest payment is 40% of primary deficit. It is given over here in the question itself. So you have to understand the question properly. You have to read questions more than one time so that you understand what is being asked in the question. Okay, let us take one more example. Example 3. Here you are asked to find fiscal deficit and primary deficit from the data given over here. You have been given the value of revenue expenditure, you have been given the value of revenue receipts, you have been given the value of borrowings, and you have been given the value of interest payment, which is 25% of revenue deficit. Since revenue deficit is not being asked in the question itself, but here you see that interest payment is 25% of revenue deficit. So we have to find out the revenue deficit also over here in this question. Okay, let us see how to solve the first part, that is part A. Since we have already discussed about this, fiscal deficit is also known as borrowings, isn't it? So obviously the value of fiscal deficit will be the value taken by borrowings, that is 150 crores. So the first portion is solved easily. For second portion, we know that primary deficit, the formula for primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus interest payments, isn't it? Now we know what fiscal deficit is. It is given as 150 crores in question, but we don't know what is interest payment, because interest payment is given in terms of percentage of revenue deficit. Okay, in terms of percentage of revenue deficit. So what we will do is we will first find out the interest payment. Okay, so how we will find the value of interest payment? Interest payment is given as 25% of revenue deficit. So we need to find out the revenue deficit first, and we know that revenue deficit is given by the formula. Revenue deficit is given by the formula revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts, and we know that revenue expenditure is 700, revenue receipts is 500. So when we deduct 500 from 700, we get rupee 200 crores as revenue deficit. Now we will substitute this value 200 crores in this equation, that is interest payment equals to 25% of revenue deficit. So it will be 25% of rupees 200 crores. Okay, so when we calculate it, we will get 0.25 into rupee 200 crores, which is 50 crores. Okay, this is our interest payments. Now we are asked to find primary deficit in the question. Okay, so the next step for us is to find out the primary deficit, and we know that from here the formula of primary deficit is, we know from here that the formula for primary deficit is 150 minus 50 crores. Okay, because fiscal deficit is 150 and primary deficit is 50 crores, so 150 minus 50 crores equals to rupees 100 crores. This is our final answer for the primary deficit. This is how we will solve this type of question. Now we'll move on to the next example. In a government budget, now this is not based on table, but it is based on a statement itself. So we need to understand the statement properly. First of all, we need to understand the statement properly. Okay, so in this question, in a government budget, revenue deficit is rupees 65 crores. Revenue deficit is given if revenue receipts are rupees 135 crores and capital receipts rupees 85 crores, then how much is the revenue expenditure? So you have to find revenue expenditure given the data in the questions. Okay, so here we'll see that what is being given in the question. We'll first see what are given in the question. First of all, revenue deficit is given as 65 crores. Revenue receipt is given as 135 crores. Okay, we know that revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt is revenue deficit. Okay, and in this question, we have been given the revenue deficit and we have been given the value of revenue receipts. Okay, the value of revenue receipt is 135 crores and the value of revenue deficit is 65 crores. So when we will solve this, we will get the value of revenue. We will get the value of revenue expenditure. Okay, and that will be this 135 crores. When it will go on the other side of the equation, then it will take the opposite sign, that is from minus it will become plus. So we have added 135 to 65 crores. So we will get revenue expenditure as 135 plus 65 crores, that is 200 crores, and the required value of revenue expenditure is 200 crores in rupees. Okay, now we will move on to the next question. From the following information, determine capital expenditure. As you can see from the question, you are asked to find capital expenditure, you are asked to find total expenditure, and you are asked to find interest payments. Now, total expenditure includes both revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Okay, first of all, you are asked to find capital expenditure, then you are asked to find total expenditure, and then you are asked to find interest payments. Okay, now let's see the question. In question, What are the details given? Fiscal deficit is 120 crores, revenue deficit is given, primary deficit is been given, revenue receipts is given, and non-debt creating capital receipts is given. Okay. So from these details, you are asked to find capital expenditure. You are also asked to find total expenditure and interest payments. Okay. So let's see how to solve this. Okay. We know that the formula for primary deficit is given as fiscal deficit minus interest payments. Okay, and in our question itself, primary deficit is given. Okay, and fiscal deficit is also given. So with this two, we can easily find interest payments. So for question number C, how will we find interest payments? In question number C, interest payment from this itself, okay, if we shuffle it, then we will find that interest payment is nothing but fiscal deficit minus primary deficit. And what is the value of fiscal deficit? Value of fiscal deficit is 120 crores and the value of primary deficit is 50 crores. So the final answer becomes 70. The final answer becomes 72. Final answer becomes to be 70 crores. Okay. So what is the value of interest payment? The value of interest payments is 70 crores. Okay. Now let us check for the first question, that is A. We are asked to find capital expenditure. Okay. We don't have direct formula for capital expenditure, so we will use the formula of fiscal deficit. Okay. Fiscal deficit is equal to, if you can remember this formula, we have discussed about this while discussing the fiscal deficit. So the fiscal deficit can also be written as revenue deficit plus capital expenditure minus non-debt creating capital receipts. Okay, or the capital receipts excluding borrowings. These two are same. Capital receipts excluding borrowings or non-debt creating capital receipts are same. So what happens here is, in our question itself, we have been given the value of revenue deficit. What is the value of revenue deficit over here? The value of revenue deficit is 90 crores. Okay, so we have replaced it by 90 crores over here. Okay, we don't know the value of capital expenditure and we are asked to find the value. We know the value of non-debt creating. It is given over here. Non-debt creating capital receipts is given over here as 100 crores. So we have taken it as 100 crores. And we also know the value of fiscal deficit. So we have replaced the value of fiscal deficit over here, 120 crores. Now when we arrange it, when we bring these two values, since 90 crores is in positive, when it goes to the other side of equation, it becomes minus 90. Which is shown over here, and since it is in minus, 100 crores is in minus, when it changes when it goes to other side of the equation, we will add it. Okay, 100 crores. So what happens here is, these two are positive, 120 and 100, so we will add it to 120 and we have to deduct 90 from that. So 220 minus 90, it becomes 130 crores. So 130 crores is the value of capital expenditure. Okay, we are also asked to find the value of total expenditure, isn't it? And the value of total expenditure is revenue expenditure plus capital expenditure. We have just now found about capital expenditure. Now revenue expenditure is not given over here. Okay, but we have been given revenue deficit and revenue receipt. So using the formula of revenue deficit, we can easily find the value of revenue expenditure. That is what we are going to do now. Okay, so here you can see, here you can easily see that here you can easily see that we are using the formula of revenue deficit. Revenue deficit is equal to revenue expenditure minus revenue receipts. And we know the value of revenue receipts and we know the value of revenue deficit, which is given in the question, so we can easily find revenue expenditure. Let's see what will be the value of revenue expenditure. Revenue deficit is given as 90 crores in question itself here, over here, okay, and we don't know what revenue expenditure is, and we know the value of revenue receipts. Revenue receipts is given here, the value of revenue receipts is 60. So while calculating, this minus 60 will go to the other side and becomes plus 60, so that the revenue expenditure becomes how much? 150 crores. Okay, so the final value of total expenditure becomes capital expenditure. Capital expenditure plus revenue expenditure, and since capital expenditure, we have formed capital expenditure as how much? Capital expenditure is 130 crores, and we have just right now found the value of revenue expenditure also, and it is 150 crores. So what happens over here is that the value of total expenditure is capital expenditure plus revenue expenditure. Okay, and the value of total expenditure will be 130 plus 150 crores, that is 280 crores. So this calculation was a bit lengthy, but if you remember the formula and remember the technique how to use it, you will easily be able to use this formula and solve the question. This was the toughest question which we have dealt with. So this type of question may come for 3 or 4 marks, okay, and even if it does not come, you will remember the formula by doing the calculations, okay. So this much was there in the probable board questions, okay. Hope you have understood how to solve various previous year's board questions. Okay, I have just given a few samples over here. You will try to find out the previous year questions from CBSE website and try to solve it based on this chapter, that is government budget. We have come to an end with the chapter government budget. Hope you all have understood the chapter properly, okay, and if you have any doubt, you can always ask to your particular subject teacher, okay, from your school. And if you want to ask, if you have few queries, then you can ask me also, okay. You can get the contact details through various sources. So till then, stay safe, be at home and keep studying. Thank you very much. Thank you.